Hey guys, how's it going? Today we have both the new UPSs from Ubiquiti. These are the rack mount and then just kind of the floating like stand-up mount for a device. I want to say really a computer, more or less, doesn't have very much like throughput wattage wise. I believe it's 300 watts. And this one's 500 watts that it can withstand. We can double check the specs later once we get back over to my computer for the setup. But yeah, let's get cracking into both of these guys and see what we have. All right, guys, let's get cracking into it. The two boxes, actually the rack mount one is quite large, so it's not fitting exactly how I want it to on camera. So if I miss anything, I apologize about that. But let's get cracking into it. Let's pull the seal. Just like that. And then this box opens from the top, it looks like. So we'll push the handle out of the way. There we go. And there it is. And the box does say attached, so that's not removable. But let's swing this around. Here we got the UPS right on the top. Let me adjust the camera angle so you can see that. All right, that should be a little better. Let's get this out of the box. It does have the power cord attached. Let's keep that in mind. Let's slide this out. Probably weighs a good 20 pounds or so. Not too heavy. We'll slide that. Put the box over there. Nice, compact box. Lots of padding. This did come in shipping like in a separate box that was well padded. I haven't seen that much padding before. They really did not want this to get damaged, which I appreciate. And yeah, it looks like that's just the box and then some documentation. So let's move this out of the way. I've been waiting for Ubiquiti to come out for a UPS in a while. Ever since I really got into Ubiquiti gear. It's been something that I always wanted since, I mean, they do have the RPS, but in reality that's not a battery backup, that's just a DC conversion for power wise. So let's get this opened up. And it looks like it slides off, maybe? Oh, I see. Pull down from the side. It brings it over, and then you can fold it over, just like a sandwich, I guess. Packing a sandwich for the day. All right, let's get the plastic out of the way. This is for a client, so I'll be reboxing this up. The rack mount is for me. So I don't have a large rack. All right, but let's look on the back, and I will say that the plastic is textured. I'm not sure how well the camera will pick that up, but it's like a matte, grippy texture. That's the way I describe it. But let's look at the back. So here we have two plugs, actually. They're both Ethernet, but this is for kind of what you see on normals, like surge protectors with the Ethernet. I mean, these, I've never actually seen someone use these before. But yes, and here is the management for the battery backup. Looks like we got 1/2 of the surge and then the surge plus battery. I don't know what the kilojoules is for lightning or surges whatsoever, so we'll pull up the specs later on. Move this around. On the front, we get a singular button and looks like some vents for cooling. I don't know if this does have a fan. I'm assuming it does. Most UPSs do have a fan. And another, some stuff on it, but another Ubiquiti logo that's indented. But that's this one. It looks like it does need, it still has battery, so it does have joules. There it goes. Go and power that off. Kind of standard way of operating a UPS for power buttons. So let's get the big boy cracked open. This one I'll be actually going in my rack. This one's for a client, so we'll set this one off to the side. I will say with that other box and the plastic, good luck getting that back on, because that's a weird way. They must do it with a machine, because that was a big pain. But anyways, we got the 2U UPS here. This is a big strip they have. Oof, but that was satisfying. Yeah, no, this is a big strip, pull strip. I haven't seen one this large from them yet. So slide it up, opens up like so. Little wing tips. I like how it's like a little like falcon, because these are cut right here. All right, so it looks like we got foam on the top. Just pull that off, put that off to the side. And then up top, we have the hardware kit. And it seems to be like the other one, in a way. That other one had like a little winged type box that opened. So this one slides out. It remains connected. And here we got some very short, these aren't the standard ones. Like the standard ones are normally a little bit longer in the way. So these ones, so if you have to, don't lose these, because I know some of them you can reorder, but these ones are different. You got your standard screws and looks like some feet pads. I'm gonna put that off to the side. Same with the box, and it looks like we got some documentation. I'm kind of destroyed a little bit, but all right. Now let's get out this big guy. Oh, oof, definitely more heavy. Sorry, I just whacked the mic. Slide it off. Oof, all right. Set this guy down. This probably weighs, I want to say more like 40 pounds, so probably double of what the little stand-up unit is. So let's flip this on its other side. Looks same kind of way. It's got some wing tips, so it's got one that wraps around the cord since the cord is attached. So, and then it kind of builds up like that. So, but let's slide this out. See what we're looking at. Maybe. Probably face. Yeah, we'll just do it this way for now. All right, so on the back, so we got the power button on the back, 2 in and out for surge, management ports, and it looks like we got surge plus batteries. So I think this one actually has less ports than the other one. Yeah, it does, because it had 2 extra more. It had 5 per bay. This one only has 4 per bay. It is a 15 amp, not a 20 amp. So we got 4 ports for power and surge, or for battery and surge, excuse me, and 1 bay for just surge. So that just filters through. Doesn't actually provide power if the power goes out. And then we got a big fan, which makes sense. Let's slide this down. Oh, this is the heavier ones. And on the front is very, very clean. So just like that. And for my note, this does pop off on the front to replace the battery. Same with the other one. And yep, just some wing plastic tips right here. So it easily comes off. And a little LED. Put that off with the Ubiquiti logo. And we do have access to the battery tray. Now I think these take the standard 12 volt batteries in series for 24 volts, I believe. But yeah, here's a panel for the 2 screws. So let's pop those off and then get into the nitty gritty. All right, got my handy screwdriver, lttstore.com. Let's pop this open and see what the batteries look like. I don't know if they're in series or if it's 1 battery. I'm not sure. I haven't really taken a close look at the specs for this one. I know on the other one, it's just a single cell, well, put together in a single cell for a battery. So it's only one pack that you have to replace. I'm curious on this one. It's good that you can access it from the front. All right, so yeah, these are the clips for the holder on the bevel on the front. Right here, we have a big, I'm gonna say this is a 20 amp plug, but you just pull it just like that. I'm surprised it comes, normally with battery backups, they come undone and you actually have to plug this in. I think it's due to shipping regulations, but I'm surprised because like any like APC battery or anything like that that comes in a rack mount, typically this is unplugged in. You have to unplug this in. So let's, ooh, that's nice. Let's, oh, it's in like a rubber tray. That's really nice for sliding out. It makes it easier. And here is the battery. So the battery probably weighs, I don't know, like 10 pounds. It's not very heavy. Let me zoom out a little bit. And yeah, this tray like is glued in, but as you can see, there's 2 cells in there. So yeah, with the other one, I believe it's only 1 cell. I think these can pop off because you should be able to replace them, or unless Ubiquiti plans on just selling this as a kit. But yeah, these are like the standard ones that you have like on alarm panels and other smaller UPSs. But you can see that there is the alligator clip in there, so these can be popped off and then just replaced. But let's slide this back in. Probably really easy. This is probably one of the easiest kind of battery trays because they're together. Oh yeah, that was super easy. And one thing, this has enough room to go back in, which I appreciate, because like with APC batteries, I don't know why, but these, it is so difficult to get this clamp in flush for you to be able to put the panel back on APCs. And it's prone to pinching. I don't like them, the way that they're doing it nowadays. But nonetheless, let's get this slid back in. Pretty easy. And this one doesn't have like a little wing door like APCs do. Fun fact, actually, last week, 2 weeks ago, I had an APC blow up in my face. I was throwing an air and I was trying to get it reset, and one of the capacitors blew up right in front of my face when I was about 6 inches away. Yeah, that wasn't fun. Definitely, I'll put your hair on your chest. Yeah, it was on a 30 amp plug too, so a little bit sketch. Never had one of those explode on me before. You know, this giant capacitor that blew up. It was loud too. It sounded like a gunshot. All right, cool. That's back in. And then slide on the bevel. It's pretty simple. Looks like this does have to be raised just a hair. And then just kind of smack it in. Just like that, you got the front face. All right, let me get this in the rack and then we'll take a look at the management of it. So I got the camera mounted. So this is my existing UPS. It's an APC, it's lithium ion, which is nice. But got everything shut down that I need to in my rack. I'm gonna go and turn this guy off. Now, this is gonna be a pain because this actually goes to all the way back to my wall. So let me, I also got some rack studs. These are slightly the wrong size, so I kind of have to force them in there, but they work great. So that's what I'm going to be using this time instead of the actual screws. These don't look as good. So let's go ahead and make sure it's in focus for you guys. Actually, I'm going to do this bottom one first. to the side. This one is probably gonna fall, but that's okay. Actually, no. Honestly, hands down, this LTD screwdriver is the best screwdriver ever. I want to go back. It's so satisfying. All right, let me slide out all my cable mess right here. This is a little management cable. I have to pull a slightly different one. All right, pull the power. Now this is going to be a big old fun part. All right. Slide that back up there. Okay, I got this guy plugged in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug in the Ethernet for it. Let's go and plug in that. Slide that back. Now, the unfortunate part is what I wish they wouldn't have done is the power switch is on the back, which I really don't like for exact situations where don't have ease of access to get inside, which I guess is fine, but it's not for a rack mount. The power supply or the power switch should really be on the front. It doesn't need to be shown. It can be behind the panel for like where you can pull the battery off, but I really do not like that they did that. All right, so I'm gonna slide this guy back here. So just like that. I am gonna pull a couple of my rack studs. So let me find one of these. I have to pull it back out to turn it back on, which is actually really annoying, but let me pop out these studs. All right, okay. So got you in place. So may have failed to mention this has to be slid out because I need access to the actual tray. So I have it on 2 and 3. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide these in here, just like so. And normally you don't need to push them in any more than that, and they snap in. But however, my rack rails are a little bit thicker than normal. So I just have to use a flathead screwdriver to kind of push it in the rest of the way, which is fine. I've had to pull these out before and it's easy to do, which is fine. Not the best. The ones I need is, they're the purple color ones. But yeah, just like that. And then you take one of these little doohickeys, little plastic little wafer, has a little clip on the back. Slide this in, everything's booting up, so you're gonna have beeps and boops. Slide that back right there. Same with this one on the bottom. Slide it in. And just like that. And now I'm gonna do the other side. All right, so I got the other side put in. So what we're gonna do is just slide it over those two guys. All right. Now if you can't get it, just smack it in place and you should be good. The tray is on all the way on the bottom. There's this like tolerance or clearance. And then what you do is you take these guys. If it wants to focus, there we go. These are the little hex nuts that go on the little strands, and you just twist them on place. You can, there is a Phillips head on the butt side right here that you can screw. It's not necessarily needed. A lot of I find finger tight is plenty enough for these guys. These aren't going anywhere. The beautiful UPS installed. All right, let's go get this adopted in the controller and see what it can do. Okay, from what I found, I got everything situated, but the UPS does not support cloud hosted controllers. Normally, because I have a edge router that forwards the adoption request to my cloud hosting controller, which, like, for example, like the flex switches, which is not normally, you can SSH into the device to point it manually to there. That's why I have this adopted. However, I do have like a test cloud key that I use So if we grab this IP address and we go to PuTTY and we go try to open it up, it does not accept SSH. So this device cannot be manually adopted. And I double checked the store page and it says UniFi OS. So if you have a UniFi OS like on-prem server, not just network, then that should work, but not just a straight up network controller that's cloud-based. So on my temp, let's just go ahead and get it adopted. This will probably take a minute. In the meantime, let's look at the store page for at least the rack mount. So it supports 1.44 kilovolts for the joules, and it looks like a 216 watt hour battery. It includes you can hot swap the battery, so you don't have to shut everything down when replacing the battery like normally. So you can just pop it in there. So technical, let's scroll down to what I was looking for. So it has 1,000 watt capacity for the actual entirety of it, but the load on the battery side looked like it was 500 watts. Let me see. Interesting that they don't want it. But it looks like so half load 500 watts at a runtime of 8 minutes. So it's not very long, but it does give enough time for devices to shut down with the NUT capability. Nice. So in that, I'll show you how to set that up. I'm assuming it should load still because it uses the UI credentials in order to actually sync those devices. But yes, as I expected, it's a 2-cell battery, so 12 volts at a total of 24 volts at 9 amps. Peak, yep, breaker 200. So it does support 250 volts at 15 amps. So it can auto switch if you're in the UK. So there's that one. And then for the stand-up one, so the battery is in the front and it can be hot swappable. I believe this is only one battery. Let's double check. Yeah, one. So it's a 12 volt battery at 9 amps. So that's why you only get a little less load time. So it looks like half load of 300 watts of a runtime of 7 minutes and grateful shutdown with NUT for the UNVR and UNAS that run databases, etc. Yeah, so let's go back to here, and it did update. It did give a different IP address. Let me see if I can putty into the device now and manually point it to there. Yeah, no. Let me double check that I have SSH on the device. No, so let me turn that on. I'll just use this for now, and let me just copy this to Notepad. I'll just set that in there, and then all right. So this should provision or get a status update, and it looks like from the standpoint, it does have the status page, just kind of like the PDU does for what is consuming. So I believe, let's see. So it's not interesting. So you can see also the surge, like the Ethernet surge in and out. It looks like it's just per bay. So it can only tell not the actual individual power slots. There we go, power ports. So you can't click on those individually. It just does it by the bay. And so, yeah, so right here it does support safe shutdown. So it can see the other devices on the network, like my UNAS, but it can't provision. So now it should be good. Let's see if I can SSH into the device, even if, yeah, no, it still won't allow it. Let me see if I can NUT server. That's fine. So you can change the status. So this NUT supports like devices for graceful shutdown. So you can manually provision them other than Ubiquiti devices like servers, or actually you probably want to put this on a server just because of the load. But other devices, smaller devices would work if they support NUT. So let's go over to here. We'll click to pair, and I just paired it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can pull the power plug. It's going to be a little difficult because it's behind my rack. But I do see it supports it. So yeah, there's not much other information other than nuts. It's pretty standard. It shows that right now the current capacity is taking 90 watts with everything plugged into it via my PDU. I really wish they would have individualized the ports just like the PDU does. Let me show you that. So on the PDU, you can click on the individual ports and, for example, power cycle them like this one and rename them. Like I believe one of these 16 is my AP because I don't have a BT power supply, but yeah, it doesn't look like it has that option. It's just kind of general statistics. So let me go pull the power and then we'll see on how it works for the graceful shutdown. All right, I just pulled the power and as you can see, the fan's actually running quite high right now. I don't know if you can hear that, but I do see it just triggered the shutdown for my UNAS. So it is working. Actually at the current capacity of 90 watts, which my entire rack is, it's got an hour of runtime, which is really good. I have a USW Pro Max, a older UniFi 150 watt PoE switch, Raspberry Pi, Cloud Key, UNAS, and the PDU, and a couple injectors and things like that, and a monitor. So not bad for an hour and 10 minutes runtime. The UNAS is still shutting down, but yeah, no, it seems to be running good. There's no alarm, which I've noticed. Normally with a battery backup, it alarm. I don't see anything regarding alarm capable. Yeah, so I'm surprised that they didn't include an alarm on the battery backup, because usually that's a pretty good way to tell if something or an error or something like that is going on with the battery, which I prefer. I know some people find it annoying, but working in the IT field, it's easy to diagnose which battery backup is having issues or if the battery needs replaced, etc. I know you can look at the status in here, but yeah. Yeah, so our runtime, yeah, it's working just as it should. It's completely segregated from power and it did shut down the UNAS. I'm wondering, I don't know if it supports a UDM Pro. I believe it's just the UNVR and the UNAS for right now. The UNVR, I get why you wouldn't want to shut that down, but there is still a database that runs on there. So I'd prefer it would shut down and then trigger a reboot, possibly like with the PDU or something like that. Or if when it detects power, something that would support a low power mode, like a Pixie boot or something like that. But yeah, no, it looks good. It's doing its thing. All right, I just plugged back in the PDU, and what I did notice is the UNAS did not start. So, which is annoying, which I get because it just sends a shutdown command. But that's actually kind of frustrating that it can't communicate. Maybe with NUT, it can tell it to reboot, but it just shuts down. So it does say remote power on. So let me see if I can, to bring the device remove. So you have to entirely shut down the network in order to bring it online again. I don't like that. I really don't. That's interesting. I would expect, I mean, you can go to the PDU, like if you have a PDU that you can manage and flip a switch on, example, like I do, which everything just got killed. So now we'll turn it back on, which doesn't necessarily matter because obviously I lost internet connection, so you can't remote power it on. So you'd probably want to have your UDM or something other than that plugged into a safe source of power or a different PD or UPS. There's a couple things that they should implement with this, because obviously if you shut down and your modem's on it, that's not gonna work. So let me power cycle this guy again and then bring it back up. I gotta turn back on. Let me emphasize the power button placement. That is the most inconvenient spot for a power button, because I have to take off the side panel, reach in, push the power button to turn it back on if it shuts down, because there's no power button on the front. I wish they would just, maybe in another revision that they do, they really should put it on the front for a rack, because it's not typically, unless you have an enclosed rack like I do, it's challenging to get it plugged back in, or really an annoyance. But yeah, that's one tick down. They should really put it on the front. Okay, everything's booting back up. That's going to take a minute. Yeah, don't use safe shutdown if everything you have is plugged into the UPS like I do, which is quite unfortunate. Probably what I would say to do is, if something does shut down, just if you have the PDU, use that to power cycle the port, and then it'll actually bring it back up, because it still technically has power. But yeah, that's a minus tick. But if you guys have any questions, go ahead and reach out. Leave a comment, subscribe. I really appreciate it. mbnisp.net will help you out. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye.